Okay, so I want to talk about this first word problem. This is actually going to be on your practice test as well, but this will help you with the 3 homework problems that you have today. So when we have functions with word problems, it gets a little bit more difficult. So I'm going to walk you through this. So it says Connor has a patch on his bike tire because he ran over a nail. His tire has a diameter of 50 centimeters and makes one rotation every 200 milliseconds when he rides it at a steady, fast pace. When he started riding his bike, the patch was in direct contact with the ground. About how high will the patch be after 10 seconds? So, with that, we're drawing a graph. So, when I drew this graph, first we need to find things. It tells me that my diameter is 50 centimeters. So if my diameter is 50 centimeters, that means my radius is 25. So if my radius is 25, that tells me my amplitude is 25. So whatever your radius is, that's your amplitude. So then we have one rotation is every 200 milliseconds. So let's make that 200 milliseconds into seconds. So you divide by 1,000, so I get 0.2 seconds. So I want to break this up into 4 intervals. So I divide 0.2 by 4, which gives me 0.05. So I'm going to go by 0.05 for every interval here. Okay, so let's find my period now. My period is always equal to 2 pi over b. I don't know my b, but I do know I just found I have 0.2 seconds. So I'm going to say 0.2 equals 2 pi over b. Multiply both sides by b, so we get 0.2b equals 2 pi. Divide both sides by 0.2, so I now have 2 pi divided by 1/5, which is the same as 0.2, which is equal to 2 pi times 5, which is 10 pi. So from here, my b is equal to 10 pi, and we want to know what that is because that goes into our equation here. And if you remember, there are 1,000 different equations you could have here that still give you the right answer. So I just gave you an example of a positive sign and negative cosine. You could do anything else, but these are just 2 examples. So I know that my vertical shift then is going to be up 25 here. So if it goes up 25, my positive sign graph goes intercept, maximum, intercept, minimum, intercept. So I start at my intercept, okay? However, so it's right here. Then I go to a maximum. So remember, this is my new intercept. Then I go to a maximum, intercept, minimum. So here, my amplitude is 25, so I say y equals 25 sine of b, which is 10 pi, times x minus my phase shift. So remember, my intercept moved over here to be 0.05, so it's x minus 0.05 plus your vertical shift, which is 25. So that's one equation. My next equation, I can use negative cosine, which is minimum, intercept, maximum, intercept, minimum. So here, I start with negative cosine, so if I start at a minimum here, my minimum I can just start at 0, so there's no phase shift here. Or you could start here at a minimum and use a phase shift of 0.25. It really doesn't matter. So we say y equals negative 25 cosine, and now my b is still 10 pi times x, since there's no phase shift, plus 25. So now this question is asking about how high will the patch be after 10 seconds. So I have 2 equations, so you can put 10 seconds in for x into either one and you should get the same thing. So note, your calculator must be in radians here because we have pi, not degrees. So after 10 seconds, we have y equals 25 sine of 10 pi times 10 minus 0.05 plus 25, which gives you 0 feet. Plugging it into your cosine, you get the same thing, which is 0 feet. So after 10 seconds, the patch will be at 0 feet.